Okay, it's another Monday night. Welcome to Laundry Darkroom Prints. This is the image that we're going to be printing this week. It's on the same strip as the last image that we printed, and it's a nice portrait. Ilford HP5. I believe I ran this in D76 1:1, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time. This is my youngest. This is actually a number of years old now. He's quite the young man at this point. But this was back when he was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, something like that. Anyway, I love this image, and I've got a scan of it, but I want to do an actual darkroom print of it. So I think on this image, we're just gonna start with a grade 2. It's not particularly high contrast. So I'm just gonna do a grade 2 at f11 and 15 seconds and just see what we get, and then adjust from there. I'll just do a straight print. I know a lot of people like it, they like, you should do, a test strip. It saves you paper, and it's like, yeah, it does, but it doesn't. The cost of the paper for me is secondary. It's really time, and because I have such a small area to do this, it's actually somewhat expensive for me to get the paper, get it cut, have some place to store the cut sheets, aside from just the regular paper, all that stuff. That actually adds quite a bit of time that I really technically just don't have. So for me personally, it's much faster to just print a full sheet. And yes, it's a little more expensive monetarily, but it's not more expensive paper-wise or time-wise. So anyway, that's what I think I'm going to do. Just put a grade 2 f11 and 15 seconds and see what we get, and then adjust from there. So that's get that set up and ready to go. So we've got the same box of 8x10 Ilford multi-grade RC or Deluxe, or their new multi-grade 5 paper, the one with the purple label. Since I've used all my RC 4 paper and literally have none of it left in any form except maybe a handful of sheets of 5x7, which I will use for some smaller prints. Some negatives I've set aside for some smaller prints, but otherwise we're on to RC Deluxe or multi-grade 5, whichever you want to call it. Okay, 15 seconds, f11, grade 2. We'll see what this looks like. Boom, there it is. So it's actually a little on the dark side, right in through here. And the highlight area right here is about right. It's just about blowing out to paper white. Same thing like this here, this area here. I mean, you can definitely see the edge, the border, the white border here. So it's not, it can lighten up a little bit, I think. I mean, you can definitely see there's enough contrast there that the autofocus will actually focus on it. So between the image and the white border. So definitely, I think And same thing like right here. Same thing like right here is great for using a macro lens. Is, definitely we're not quite the paper white there. So I might back it off by half a grade, and then from there also decrease the time. We're at 15 seconds now, halfway between 10 and 20 seconds, so I might bump it down to 13 seconds, and actually that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to drop it down to 13 seconds, and we're going to go from grade 2. We're just going to reduce the contrast by half a grade, just because I don't think that third of a stop roughly is going to make much of a difference. Okay, next. Okay, grade 1.5. Seconds. F11. Here we go. Looking good, looking good. All right, let's run that through the chemistry and see what that looks like. Boom, there it is. Boom, there it is. All right, so let's talk about this for just a second, because I'm sure there's going to be people as they watch this going to be like, oh, wait a minute, you changed the grade, don't you have to change the time? And that's one of the things that I love about Ilford's multi-grade filters, is they're speed matched all the way up to grade 4, I believe. Grade 4, 4.5, and 5, you have to double your exposure time. But grades 0 through 3.5, you don't have to do that. You can change your grade and keep the same exposure time, and basically have the same overall exposure, just less contrast. So typically what would end up happening, like at my lab, I still use Ilford's multi-grade filters, but even though I have enlargers that have color heads, and you can do split grade or multi-grade printing with the color heads, every packet of Ilford paper comes with a little manual that tells you how to set your enlarger for their papers to get each grade. But I have found that does not, every time you change the grade, you have to figure out your new exposure time. Whereas if I just leave it wide open, effectively approximately a grade 2, and I use their multi-grade filters, it doesn't matter. So in the case of this particular image, let me get this back off the thing. In the case of this particular image here, I knew if I stayed with a grade 2, I would be going up about a third of a stop of exposure, less exposure, going from 15 seconds to 13 seconds. Not quite a third, but pretty close. So I knew that it would lighten up a little bit anyway, but I also suspected that it wouldn't be enough to lighten up the shadow side here to the point where you could actually see detail. The original image, which you know, at the end, I guess we'll show a side by side. It's just too dark. I was starting to lose tone details down here in the shirt. And this area here was way too dark. Whereas this image, I mean, this is basically, boom, there it is. I'm going to print another one because I've got a little hair here. Not sure if you can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see it. You can see that. Yeah, you can see that. So I have a little hair there. So I need to clean that off. And so I'll print another one just like this, and I'm sure I'm going to have to make more than one copy simply because I love this image, and I'm sure there's going to be other family members that also want this image. So I'm probably going to end up having to make a couple different copies, but that right there is pretty much about it. 13 seconds, grade 1.5, F11, boom, done. That's, I would be hard pressed to improve upon that. So there you go. All right. Okay, it's going on 11:30, so I'm going to call it because I've been asked to make a couple different copies of this one, but I just wanted to show here the difference. On the right was grade 2, 15 seconds, F11, and on the left is grade 1.5, 13 seconds, F11. The one on the left is way better. This one we're losing a whole pile of detail here. It's way too dark in here. This is just about perfect. I could tweak it and continue to muck around with it, but frankly, no one's going to complain about that print. So we're going to make 2 more copies. I think I got this cleaned off, the hair, and that's it for this episode of Darkroom Prints, Laundry Darkroom Prints. I will see all of you next week. Bye.